Hello, I'm Vinzer Flynn, and welcome to the Flinncast.
Yo,
Good evening. How's it going?
it's good. We just finished watching The Boys, so all is well.
Ah, fresh in your minds.
It's true, and we're getting to the point where it's back in like the fall television thing. So like we got a lot of shows to go through now.
I know. I thought we'd kind of run out of things and have to start watching old shit, but so far, not so much. But that's okay.
So I'm essentially wearing my headset that I usually wear with the mic turned off using my boom mic. So it's good. We're good.
Merida, this podcast ain't worth it. You can jump out the window if you want. It's okay.
It's like it's good. No, I work in IT. It's good. I got this.
That is a workaround.
You just need another adapter, another dongle.
Why do I need another dongle?
Need another dongle.
I don't need any of those things.
All right, official start tonight. Fuck Kevyn with a Y. And if we ever get famous and he goes back and listens to our podcast, we want this guy to know that he's an artistic hack who has stolen ideas and work from Jenny and Kevyn with a Y. Who the fuck spells Kevyn with a Y? Kevyn can go fuck himself.
His parents should be ashamed of their choice of names.
Oh, his parents didn't name him Kevyn with a Y.
You never know.
I bet they did not. I bet he named himself Kevyn with a Y.
Well, given the screenshot Jenny posted of one of his responses to her friends calling him out for hacking on her artwork, he sounds like a pretentious douche, so fuck him. All right, let's get into it. The timing was good. Mandalorian Season 2 trailer dropped today. Meredith, you didn't think we were going to get this, but we did.
It was like, we're getting down to like the wire, and it started to be like, maybe they're just not going to bother. But honestly, like, I mean, it was cool, but they didn't give us much.
Christ and I were saying that just a few minutes ago before we started, is that they showed us a lot, but they didn't give away shit.
Which is what a trailer's supposed to do.
Juice, are you eating again on the podcast?
No.
Why are you so mumbly?
But yeah, I really like the trailer. It showed us much, but taught us nothing.
Yep. That's how I like my trailers.
Yep. And that's exactly how a trailer should work.
Word around the campfire is we're probably going to get another one in October. And as I was also saying to Christ, this trailer didn't show us fuck all about Fett, which I like. I think we might see that in the second one, but nothing about Boba Fett.
Well, we don't know for sure we're going to see actual Boba Fett anyway. We know that the actor, we know, but we don't know, do we? We don't know 100% that that's who he's cast as.
We know, well, we sort of, I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but Tamir Morrison is supposed to play older older Boba Fett, but he doesn't have the armor. The armor is going to be worn by a sheriff of a Tatooine town who's going to be played by Timothy Oliphant, which is a whole other level of awesome.
Well, I remember that. So I'm like, is this? Yeah. I don't know. I think it was good. I feel like they really focused it on a very limited part of it, which is cool. Because I think if they are doing a second trailer, then that would make sense. Because I think obviously we'll get something a little more like woohoo. It's interesting, the whole thing that that Jedi in the robe.
So that's a wrestler. I was seeing people throw her name around today, but I don't remember what her name was. But she's a professional wrestler.
Well, the reason you just think it might be a Jedi in the robe is because it's right after he's talking about the space wizards.
And I don't think Ahsoka is going to be the only Force user we run into in this time period, because we've got to remember this is 5 years after Jedi. Somewhere out there, Skywalker's putting his temple together. I think we're going to find other Jedi around Ahsoka. And some people were saying, was that Ahsoka, in disguise or something? But you know what? You can't hide those head tails. Come on.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Not at all.
I didn't get the sense that that's who it was anyway. I think they were trying to make you think that that's who it was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
gonna be like
Total red herring.
misleading, and yeah, like I think that probably that's the case. It's interesting. It looks like there's a whole Fight Club thing going on, so that is kind of interesting.
Those looked like Gamorreans fighting too, which very.
I think they were Gamorreans, yes. It looked really cool. Anyways, so the woman in the black cloak from the trailer is WWE superstar Sasha Banks.
What?
Oh, that's Sasha Banks?
Which
Oh, okay.
some people are throwing around that might be Sabine.
No.
Still not buying it.
No, she's not the right age to be even then. No, that doesn't make sense. And plus, like
Sabine would only be in her 20s, like her late 20s.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Well, she's not listed in the cast on IMDb, so she's either going uncredited or they're hiding her.
I would say they're hiding her because they hit all the other episodes. They only put out, they only updated their IMDb as the episodes came out.
Well, here's the thing, though. Boba Fett's listed in here. So is Bo-Katan. And, so Boba, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, which we all know are going to be in season 2. So.
And the thing is, we're going to get those big characters, but like I said before, we might get them for a bit. Maybe an episode each, part of an episode each tops, and we're going to get introduced to other new characters, kind of like the first one where we got introduced to people like Mayfeld and guys like that, right?
Yeah, my hope with Ahsoka and Sabine, if and when they do make an appearance, is it's like one episode, like explain the Jedi plot device type thing.
I mean, the only reason it could be it's not the only reason it could be Sasha Banks, but a reason that people are probably thinking that Sasha Banks could be playing Sabine is because she has purple hair. But I mean, I guess she's about the right age. And somebody else said that there are rumors that she is in fact playing Sabine, so I don't know.
Find out in a month. So what was interesting to me watching this trailer is like it didn't give us away anything, but it did show us a lot of classic Star Wars stuff, like classic X-Wings, which didn't seem to be attacking the Razor Crest. It seemed to be flying formation with it almost.
I wasn't sure if they were like trying to pull him over and then he said, go fuck yourself. And they're like, well, fine. And then they do the spoils and attack position thing. And they're going to like kill the throttle to get behind him and then start a dogfight. That's the vibe I got from it, but they could be flying information together.
That's a valid point. Is when the S-foils open, that's to disperse the heat from the guns, which means they're about to start shooting. So, but they might be on his side, right? They could be, because they weren't shooting at him while they were chasing him in the clip. They could have a common enemy.
Yep, it could honestly go either way.
But that's again, I think one of those. I think they originally tried to make it look like they were coming after him, but in the end, we're going to find out that that's not the case at all. I think it's just another.
They're going to be there for.
Someone on Reddit raised a really interesting point, how when you see the X-Wings show up in season 1, how terrified they were of how dangerous and destructive and deadly these ships are. And same with the TIE fighters. These are super good weapons of war, but we're so used to seeing them against each other that they kind of lose that scariness, how scary they would be to a civilian on a starbase. Like 3 X-Wings just dropped out of hyperspace, like, oh fuck.
Well, it's the same thing with the AT-ST in that I think 4th episode where he goes to the shrimp planet. People are like, oh, chicken walkers, takes AT-STs from the perspective of guy on the ground with a blaster to be fucking terrifying. I saw somebody refer to it as a T-Rex with lasers coming out of its face.
And again, following that line of thinking is when towards the end of the first season, when the Moff shows up with an E-Web cannon, and they make a special point saying, this is an E-Web cannon, you might have heard of it. And Cara Dune's like, I've seen that thing fucking kill all my soldier friends. Like, even just that simple blaster is a terrifying, engine of destruction that we just sort of forget about. We forget how kick-ass all this stuff is.
Yeah, especially because the only other time we've seen it was in Empire, and Solo's Falcon shot down the crew before it even got a chance to fire.
Yeah.
I think the audience problem with the Star Wars universe is that we always see, with the exception of the Solo movie at this point, and maybe I guess um, Rogue One, is we always see the galaxy from the Jedi's perspective. Because, the whole movies, all 9 movies were following a Force user around, right? So to a Jedi, an E-Web turret's not a big deal. Deflect, 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 deflect it back into the gunners, they're dead, no problem, right? But we never see the war, with the exception of Rogue One, I guess, from the average guy on the ground, to which an E-Web turret is a heavy machine gun, and probably a lot of people are going to die.
Yep, and that's the kind that says more. That says Star Wars more to me, that that perspective, than Jedi stuff ever will.
Which also then explains why Jedi are such legends in the galaxy, because they can do shit like that. And to the average guy, seeing an E-Web cannon being taken down with ease by some guy with a laser sword.
That actually raises something really interesting that I thought about today, is that it seems like, for having not taken place that long ago, chronologically wise, a lot of people have, I know the Empire did their job well scrubbing them from history, but a lot of people regard the Jedi as legends or don't know they existed at all. And it made me think about a real life parallel where, okay, like we all know a lot of World War II history pretty well. We know the stories of it, like compare that to the Clone Wars, say. But then you always hear a news story about, like, recently I heard about this all Jewish commando group in World War II. I didn't have any clue about them. You know what I mean? Like there's pieces of it that you just don't find out about in the bigger picture. And people forget things so quickly. It's really not that surprising that people are like, Jedi? What the fuck's a Jedi?
Well, yeah, like people are like, why don't anyone remember why don't the Mandalorians know who the Jedi are? And I'm like, well, there were 10,000, I believe at the time of the end of the Republic, there were 10,000 Jedi Knights in the entire order. And I'm like, there are trillions of beings in the Star Wars galaxy. 10,000 people out of trillions is like a negligible percentage. Like it might as well be 0% of the Jedi. And like, if you were some backwater farmer on even in the mid-rim, right? If there was, the average person would probably never see a Jedi in their entire life, or maybe even hear about the Jedi in their entire life. It's not like they're making the news and people are watching the holo broadcasts all the time of like, look what General Skywalker did to this batch of droids as he hacks them to literal shreds. And besides, even in real life, if you heard a story from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend about some guy with a laser sword that could move things with his hands, you would be like, show me video or I don't believe you.
The trailer showed us some classic locations. Apparently we're going back to Tatooine at least once. They showed
Tusken Raiders.
They showed a water world that seemed to have a lot of Quarrens on it, so it's probably Mon Cala. But most interesting was the ice planet, which the fans are already thinking that it might be Ilum, because that's where the Empire went to mine out all the Kyber crystals, and which eventually under the First Order became Starkiller Base. And to me, that makes perfect sense, where a group of Jedi might be hiding, maybe like the Empire's fallen, so their excavation efforts on Ilum probably have stopped, or at least, slowed down enough, and maybe that'd be a great place for Jedi to hide out.
Some people are also thinking that between Tatooine, the ice planet, which they were postulating was Hoth, and then there's another scene where I think the Razor Crest is kind of crashing down onto what looks like a jungle moon, that he might be retracing Luke's footsteps.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I think that would also be kind of cool. We just see Din and Baby Yoda visiting all of the original trilogy Luke, like big Luke places, 5 to 10 years after Luke's been there, because he's trying to track him down.
Make a very big point of the fact that he has to go find Baby Yoda's people, right?
So where would the biggest rumors and stories be coming in that particular timeline about this guy who, this Jedi who defeated the Emperor, right? So that has to be a story that's going around. So, okay, let's look into that.
Yeah.
Well, because Rey knows of Luke by the time the first sequel movie comes out. So I would imagine right now Luke Skywalker's legend is at its all-time high, because it's only a couple years later the story has percolated out to the rest of the galaxy before it has started to wither back into legend.
I'll be surprised if his name doesn't come up at least once in this season.
I mean, people have been speculating for a long time that if Disney ever wanted to do a younger Luke, because obviously Mark Hamill is I don't want to say old, but he certainly doesn't look like his younger self. So they can't really use Mark Hamill unless they digitally de-age him, whatever, in anything in this time period. That they could just give Sebastian Stan a haircut and he would be an excellent stand-in.
Oh my god, that side by side of them was fucking uncanny.
Anything could happen.
Plus, we got the sweet baby meme of Baby Yoda smacking the button to close his little clamshell.
Clearly the highlight of the trailer.
Well, when those birds come out, people better start ducking.
Smart kid.
Ooh, see what I did there? Bird,
I totally
duck.
caught it.
Yay!
Sigh.
One of us. One of us.
Baby Yoda's sitting in the chair here and he's smiling at me right now. What are you smiling at? Baby Yoda. He's in the office here with me.
The baby knows. The baby knows.
We're saying that that the gif of him closing the carrier is going to replace the Grandpa Simpson walk in, walk out gif.
I'm just trying to go through the trailer in my head. The only other noteworthy scene is the opening where the Razor Crest has clearly been shot to hell, limping its way to wherever the heck it's going. I do wonder what got it into that position.
Both Rain and I were like, why is he flying towards Earth?
I was just about to say that. Holy shit, that planet looked eerily familiar.
And I thought, like, is that Alderaan? Oh, no, wait, no, that can't be Alderaan.
Too soon.
Could be Naboo or something.
Oh, there's 100 planets it could be we haven't even heard of yet. All right, let's move on to chat a minute about the Dune trailer, which I was super impressed with.
Very
As
much,
was I.
very much so. I wasn't speaking, I wasn't being prone to hyperbole when I said it gave me chills. Like, it legit did. Like,
I recently read the book and I rewatched the movie from the 80s, which is absolutely terrible, but in its weird way, it has achieved iconic classic sci-fi status. But the new trailer, I feel like Dune's finally going to get a cool look and feel and theme that it really deserves to have. And everything I saw in the trailer, I still recognized from the book or even the bad movie, like the Bene Gesserit priestess and things like that. The thing I really like is that Paul Atreides is a young person. He's not, Kyle MacLachlan was young in the 80s, but he wasn't as young as Paul Atreides was supposed to be.
yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, so when I too am starting to read the book. Well, actually listen to it on unabridged audio, but needless to say, Paul's only like 15 in the book when they originally start. So he's like a youngin'. Having rereading the book, I'm actually seeing a lot more similarities to the sci-fi miniseries than the actual movie. So if anyone wants to have a little better representation of the book, at least from what I've seen so far, go watch the miniseries.
I forgot all about that. Is it actually good?
I enjoyed it a lot. So it was a 3-parter, 2 hours long. So it's like a 6 hour. It's a 6-hour event, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It certainly caught a lot of the tone and tenor and ideas of the book a lot more than the 80s movie did.
That's cool. I just wrote that down. I'm gonna check that out. I forgot all about it. Yeah, the cast is looking incredible. Oscar Isaac, I think, is playing Duke Atreides. It's got Jason Momoa. It's got Josh Brolin. Is Josh Brolin playing Gurney?
I think he is.
That's great. Dave Bautista is playing, I think, Raban the Beast.
Yes, he is.
Now that's good casting. Oh, and Stellan Skarsgård, I believe, is playing Baron Harkonnen, which is fucking amazing.
Yes, he is. That's going to be interesting.
Now, who's playing Fade Ratha? Because, that Sting, he was an iconic character in a terrible movie.
I'm not sure if he's actually going to be in this one, because I remember reading an article that they hadn't cast or hadn't filmed Fade for this particular movie, but they were saving him for the next one.
Oh, really? I was going to say that they leaving Fade out would be quite a bold choice, or maybe they're keeping him under wraps or something.
Quite possibly. Yeah, no, he's not listed in the credits on IMDb. So,
But the trailer, just the feel of it looks like Dune's finally going to get treated right.
I hope so. However, I'm not entirely. It's going to be interesting what they're going to have to cut and what they're going to keep to make it fit into a two-parter, which is what apparently Villeneuve wants to do.
Oh, I actually did not know that. That's interesting. Cool.
Yeah, no, he's been quoted as saying that there's no way you'd be able to treat this book properly without doing at least 2 movies.
Well, that's fine by me.
So more than likely, read halfway to book 1. That's where they'll probably leave. So more than likely, this first movie is going to be them going to Dune, establishing themselves, then the big betrayal, the destruction of the house, and then probably get into some of Paul and his mother's initiation into Fremen society, and that's where it'll probably cut off.
Yeah, I'm guessing first part Fall of House Atreides, second part Rise of Muad'Dib.
Yeah, more than likely.
All right, let's move on to the watch list. Let's start with Lower Decks episode 6.
This is a weird. This episode ticked the holograms out to kill us. Holodeck malfunction episode. So it's good that we got that Trek trope out of the way. A little violent. Badgie was a little over the top. Yeah.
But Lower Decks is over the top, so you can't expect to have a holodeck malfunction just go hi and just start poking you. He's gonna go for the jugular.
Badgie was scarier than Moriarty ever was.
And you know he's gonna be back.
I could see that. Recurring villain. Can I teach you a lesson?
So I didn't think the A plot of this episode with the isolinear computer core was that good. I honestly liked Tendi and Rutherford's B plot more than I did the A plot. But I am noticing it seems to be the A plot is always Mariner and Boimler. The B plot is always Tendi and Rutherford. And then they've started sneaking in the C plots with the senior officers. And once again, the Bajoran guy is like, "Can I shoot the warp core? Please, can I shoot the warp core? I've been a good boy this month." And that made me, I died.
Shax is pretty two-dimensional, but I love him anyway.
Well, they definitely exaggerated the Starfleet will exhaust all options before actually shooting things trope.
Shax makes Worf look kind of reserved. So this episode, we are introduced to Fletcher, who, like you said, he was the problem of the A plot. But I love how at the end of the episode, he's suddenly Riker's problem.
Tried and true naval tradition of promote your problems away from your ship.
I guess Riker didn't put up with him too long, though.
Yep. 1 week on the ship and he's back to Earth. But I guess that just goes to show the Cerritos is a low-end ship, because problem children like him actually survived a whole lot longer on the Cerritos apparently than on an A-type ship like the Titan with a major Trek character.
I saw a small picture, but I forgot to go back and look again. But I finally saw a picture of what the Titan looks like, and it's a pretty cool looking ship.
Yeah, it's a mix between an Akira class and a Nebula. It's definitely different. I remember way back when they introduced the Titan novels, they apparently had a contest to design the Titan, and that's what the collective came up with, or whoever won came up with in the end.
So, Juice, as a Trekkie, did you appreciate the start of the episode where they're all comparing the warp drive sounds?
Oh my god, I died laughing. That was amazing.
It was adorable.
It's like, because you know what? If we brought Varen on board, I bet you he would say, "Yeah, I get that," because I bet you the Ville de Quebec sounds a little different than the Halifax, which sounds a little different than the St. John's. Yeah, and I was kind of amused.
There we go. The next time we're all together drinking on a run ashore with Chief and Varen, we'll get them to their best impressions of what the engines on their own ships sounded like.
By God, that would be amazing.
I was actually a little upset with the way that the A plot went. Not upset, but like disappointed, I guess. So I liked the open when I can't remember the character's name because he was only there for a short time, but like he's super diplomatic, and I'm like, oh, this is good. He's good. He's good at his job. He successfully navigates between Mariner and the Doctor, from Mariner getting her butt kicked or whatever, scratched. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like a cool guy. And then he just turns into Reginald Barkley, but worse.
But I think that's the point. This guy was using his charm and other attributes to hide the fact that he's completely incompetent.
He had a high charisma but a low intelligence.
I also like that we got to meet Gamma Shift.
Oh yeah. No, Delta Shift.
Delta Shift.
Yep.
My bad.
Delta's the night shift. The evil night shift.
Wait, we don't know if the Cerritos is on a three crew rotation or a 4 crew rotation.
If
So
they have
could
a Delta, if they have a Delta shift, they would have a 4 crew.
Yeah, that's fair. Then I wonder, are they the Alpha crew then? Where's the Beta and the whatever C is in Greek?
I bet you I'm going to take a wild stab, and I'm going to say that Boimer, Mariner, and all them are probably either on Beta or Charlie. Because we don't see a whole lot of them just like getting up and yawning and going for their rack, before their shift. They're usually up and ready and good to go. So
Also, Gamma is the third letter of the Greek alphabet. I just looked it up. So there would be a Gamma shift if there's a Delta shift.
We got 4 episodes to go, and I honestly hope this show goes for many more seasons because I am genuinely enjoying it.
Yeah, me too. Like, I know it's being review bombed on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb right now, but I really like it. Like, I hope it's not 10 and done. I hope we get 20 or 30. Hell, even 70.
I am into, as I said, we're into episode 6 now, and I am still laughing loud and hard at everything the show is throwing at me. So I certainly do hope it will continue on.
Someone on Reddit commented that either the breakneck speed of the dialogue has either slowed down after the first few episodes or we're just getting used to it. Either way, we're having fun.
I think it definitely was 11 in the first episode, and it's been dialed down to like an 8.
I think so too. All right, let's jump over to Lovecraft Country episode 5. Merida, you mentioned earlier that, we need to talk about this one.
Well, I mean, honestly, I feel like that after everyone. But the ending, like, usually I see stuff coming. I usually do. Like, sometimes it sucks because I figure out stuff before I want to figure it out.
That was my big question to you. Did you see this ending coming with Christine and William?
Right when he walked in, like, I was like, oh shit. But not until right then.
Was it the events of the show with Ruby's transformation that kind of clicked it in for you?
I think it was just the way when William walked in the door and just kind of stopped like that. Like I think I just that just connected dots for me. And I think then I was just like, wait a minute. And then I was like, oh, come on. That's why we both see them coming out of the basement. God damn it.
I think I probably came to that conclusion probably the exact same moment you did. I just assumed they were twins.
Yeah, so did I, because of the, blonde and stuff. But and yeah. Sometimes those moments just come when everything just kind of, all the dots go bloop, 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 and you go, oh, how did I not see that? But good on them, because I like it when I get surprised by stuff, because I still figure that's getting surprised. And it was an interesting twist. It makes so much sense, though. because she just kept saying, you become kind of who you need to be to deal with kind of the prejudice, the bigotry that you're dealing with. So of course for her, she's going to need to be a guy.
And this was a hell of an episode to deal with the problems that they dealt with as a black person and a woman.
Yeah, no, it was real. I was so worried in the beginning because as soon as she woke up and she came out on the street, because I mean, the last episode we talked about the fact we were like, well, what I'm totally blanking on the character's name right now, Ruby. When we were like, what happened to Ruby? They just kind of left her with the sexy scene, and then that was all.
Used the whole episode to explain what happened.
Oh, they really did. So it's like, you see the white woman laying in bed and stretch, and you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Who the hell is that? And then
hello, who are you?
I started to go, wait, what? And then when she was running out in the street, and when she looked so confused when she looked at herself,
yeah, I
was like, oh. And then as soon as she said her name on the street, I was like, oh, what has happened here? And then I was kind of mad because I actually really liked her character, because I like the fact that she's very outspoken about stuff. And she was, even when like William was picking her up in the bar, it was very much the, like, this is not the first time I've heard this bullshit. So, so I really liked her character. So I was worried they were gonna like treat her poorly. But I mean, and I did kinda, but then didn't kinda too. Like she got, like she said, the first time she went out, she realized she was a white woman. She was so afraid, and then she saw how she was being treated, and people were not afraid of her; they were afraid for her.
Yeah. The cops, busting the kid who didn't do shit, and literally calling him an animal. Like, holy fuck.
Yeah, and I mean, and all it took was the word of one white woman to say, "Hey, no, he didn't do that," and that was enough.
And historically, that's also been more than enough to condemn a black person. It was the one tip of the head of a white person saying, "Yeah, this black person's harassing me," and they.
I mean, we've seen it so much lately.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the whole thing about, like, Karen. It's not just about asking for the manager. It's just, like, a historical thing about white women. They use, like, men use their aggressiveness to deal with it. White women, they use I'm the damsel in distress. No, he's hurting me, when basically, they did absolutely nothing wrong, and she just wants to see nothing more than them dead or thrown in jail. So it definitely speaks to a whole history of how women have used the white women have used their privilege as white women, the weak little white women, to further persecute innocent black folk.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting to see, and it was really interesting when she decided, all right, maybe I'm going to try this on my terms and see what it's like. It was just like she was when she went into Marshall Fields and she went in to get the job, and she was so excited at first. That was what she had wanted, like that was, to her, was, I mean, she'd wanted to be the first black woman to do it, and she was very upset that Tara, forget the character's name, got the role first, like the job first, and she was upset about that. And then to learn that the person was, relatively inexperienced and didn't have the educational background that she had, and that sort of thing,
she was hard on her.
Yeah, well, it was very interesting to see. And then, when she sees what the other white women are like, and how catty and kind of awful. I mean, racist, obviously, but at this point, the majority of white people we've met on this show are, honestly. I mean, and actively, not like subtly racist, like they're in your face racist. But I mean, obviously, the time period, they didn't have to hide it, so.
They ain't hiding it now either.
Well, people know, but they did. There was a whole period in between where they did, or at
Yep.
least, obviously, I got privilege. So, from my perspective, they were hiding it. I'm sure that was not the case for people
was-
that do not have that privilege. But
It was definitely more closeted. Like, there's been people of color, every different, who have spoken out going, at least I know where people stand now because they're being empowered by an orange person to be racist, and they're like, I prefer it now because now I know exactly where I stand with people because they're empowered to share their views. And as soon as that changes, they're going to go back in the closet, but they're going to keep doing their thing, and it's not going to
no, and I think it's definitely helped me thin my Facebook.
Oh, for sure.
change.
My arm was getting tired using the airlock for a while, but I mean, good fucking riddance to them all.
It's just you keep having moments where you're like, ah, but I mean, I can't. It's just back to the like. It was just interesting for her to see. She got to see the other side, and she imagined the other side was going to be perfect and everything, and then she realized
Not so
it's
much.
not. It's just different. It's not perfect either, but it's man, the manager though, that scene at the end.
Oh boy, Ruby got her fucking revenge big time.
Oh, did she ever? I was like, oh no, the stiletto.
Oh yeah, they were not shy about. I was gonna say that hats off to the special effects team because the transformations in this show were so visceral and gory, but they had nothing on that revenge scene. Holy shit!
And I mean, the transformations were cool. It was actually really an interesting thing because you could have just, sprinkled some dust and.
Oh no, this
had-
was full on. This was like a lycanthrope transformation in all its goriness,
But I think it was important that it was that way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, because instead of it being just like, oh, I wish it, so now I can be this other gender or this other color or whatever. It's like you have to want it so bad that you're willing to go through that.
Yeah, it pulled no punches.
Yeah. It was interesting. I'm assuming William/Christina just makes that. I don't know. Did she have a finite supply? Was she going to run out? I mean, they were both using it pretty heavily in this episode.
Yeah, it must have a vat of it in the basement or something.
Yeah. I don't know. And then they figured out what the puzzle said.
Yes, that was sort of this week's cliffhanger, and Atticus seems pretty up in arms.
Like, well, he was mad. I love. Oh, and we didn't even talk about his dad.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful. Like, oh my, like not him beating his dad. Obviously, that was terrible.
That was a beatdown. Holy shit.
You get. I mean, like he explained to Letitia's, his dad beat him, and it just kind of overflowed. But now we see, like, there was in the beginning the argument about whose son he actually was
Mm-hmm.
as well. So you got to wonder if his dad was so hard on him and stuff because maybe he knew he probably wasn't his son. Like we don't know if his dad's bi or we don't know if his dad's gay.
Right.
What it comes down to, right? So, but man, that was fucking beautiful. The dancing and with the drag queens, and when he just finally let himself kiss his boyfriend.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, because he did, right? Because they made a big deal about it, like they wouldn't kiss, and then he finally just danced and looked so happy. For the first time that we saw this man, he looked happy, even with his eyes swollen shut. And yeah, no, it was just a weird episode. It took you to a lot of places, but
And the acting was
man,
incredible through the whole thing.
so many questions.
This John, the guy that plays Atticus, Jonathan Major, he's an incredible actor.
So
We're going to move on to episode 4 of The Boys in a moment, but I'd like to talk just for a minute about the first impressions of Raised by Wolves.
that is a
Love it.
fucked up show.
I love it.
Fuck.
It's really something, isn't it? I keep saying if any of Ridley Scott's Android stories come to pass, we're fucked.
And the first episode, then I'm like, what is happening? And
Jumps
then,
right in, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like, well, okay. And then it's just kind of the second episode, like you don't know who to root for.
Very accurate, yes.
I just the whole Christianity and atheism thing
But
is interesting too.
technically, this is. I can see it being a bastardization, but I was reading this is actually a spin off an Egyptian god.
It's
So
myth.
I read.
It's Mithraism, isn't it?
Where do you think it's where this is where Christianity came from?
Mithraism's been around since the days of ancient Britain, with a Britain spelt with an O.
Yeah, it's Mithras. It's
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into my pagan spiel because that's where it comes. But okay, I will rephrase from not Christianity so much as a God-centric faith.
Monotheistic?
I think they're monotheistic. We haven't seen evidence that they are not monotheistic.
Well, they're worshiping a deity called Sol, so like a sun type god.
They've bastardized Christianity somewhat because in one episode they're receiving communion. So,
but Christianity just bastardized Mithras anyway.
Yeah, I was just like, are you gonna say it or am I gonna say it?
Yeah. But that's
Happy Christmas.
right.
needless to say, there are people that believe in a deity, and there are people who don't, and they fought and they destroyed the planet over it.
Yeah, religion destroyed the world. Who would have guessed?
Oh,
And-
so 2021?
Right. The thing is, you can't tell. Like at first, I'll be like, "Oh, well, clearly, I'm going to come down on the side of the atheists as opposed to the hardcore Christians." But then it turns out the atheists kind of assholes to the kids. So,
Yeah.
like, everybody kind of sucked.
I would argue that if there's a protagonist, it's young Campion.
I think so, and I think that that's what it's supposed to be. But it's interesting. Like, I'm only 3 episodes in, so please don't spoil me. But
Right.
I'm wondering if he is going to be this savior that they are talking about. Because I mean, there's obviously he has some weird backstory with the fact that he essentially came back from the dead.
I'm thinking the planet's haunted, and it's going to have something to do with it.
There has been some talk online that it's drawing parallels from the Book of Enoch, and that this planet is going to have like the creatures are parallels for. They're not just monsters. I don't want to spoil anything, so we'll talk more about this in a future cast. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of religious stories, legends, and ideas that are going to have a bigger impact than we might think at first. What I will say about this Kepler planet is that it's really capturing the desperate feeling of humanity trying to survive and just being so utterly isolated on an alien world. Like it really does feel like a good classic Ridley Scott sci-fi.
It does, and I mean, and whole father and mother are like I love the actor who plays father. If I'm going to pick out actually anybody other than Campion, but I'm still waffling on Campion because I'm not sure that he's not going to be a huge asshole. His father, he's been pretty good overall. I don't think he's done anything super upsetting.
And he's father, and he keeps telling like dad jokes.
Right? It's good. And he just practices, and he's so sincere when he tells them. He's just like,
I find the guy playing father to be a wonderful actor. Like I'm probably enjoying his character the most.
I think so too. Like I like mother. I like it's interesting when now as far as I am that we found out that she was a necromancer. Necromancer? What did they call her?
Necromancer.
Anyway,
You're
she
right.
kills everybody with her siren call. But so it was interesting that they're saying that, you know, he was reprogrammed. That they reprogrammed her to care for the children.
Mother is terrifying, and when like you first get a look at what the necromancer looks like when she's transformed, it is holy shit.
Yeah, that thing is. Yeah, I can see why most human beings during the war were absolutely terrified of that thing. Because if I saw something like that floating towards me and it suddenly screamed, and my comrade just like turns into a giant cloud of blood, yeah, I'd be kind of scared as shit about her too.
Yeah, so we will continue to talk about this show in future casts, but definitely watch the next few episodes because it keeps building and getting cooler and cooler. And it's weird. The weirdest thing for me in this show is seeing Ragnar Lothbrok from Vikings as one of the main characters in it.
Yes, and I haven't even watched all of Vikings, but I was like,
He makes a good Knights Templar.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to The Boys, episode 4.
Why can't Homelander just laser her in the face?
Yeah, the opening scene when it was when I thought Homelander might have been remembering or fantasizing with Elizabeth Shue's character being there, and then it was revealed to be Doppelganger, and all I could think was, oh, Doppelganger's living on borrowed time.
yep, like there was no way he was coming out of that.
Nope.
About 50 minutes worth of borrowed time, if my math is correct.
Yeah, when I made my notes, I was one of the first things I wrote: Doppelganger living on borrowed time. ... I was right.
That was it was a good episode. I liked that we found out about Liberty. That was cool.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I thought about her and Stormfront apparently being the same person.
Yeah, which is I again haven't read the graphic novel. So, and I know that Stormfront is a male character in the graphic novel. So I'm curious whether this is the case in the graphic novel.
We'll try to get Jenny back next week because she'll be able to fill us in.
Yeah. But it was, I mean, I really hate her.
Oh God, she's so worthy
You're
of it.
Supposed to.
I know. And she does a good job.
I'm surprised, like, she was having that rally at the start of the episode, and I'm like, why is Vaughn putting up with this? They make all the other heroes, like, toe the corporate line, so I'm not really sure why they let her get away with it.
I think she's running everything in a way.
Yep. I think if she's 70.
She's probably been pulling everyone's strings right on down.
I think so.
This is how she gets her fun. And I think she had the best line of the whole show, and it fucking holds so true with what's going on in the world now. She says to Homelander when he confronts her, you don't need 50 million people to love you. You just need 5 million people fucking pissed.
I agree.
And it's what we see.
I find it's interesting. So in the first season, right, Homelander is the antagonist of the boys, right? So I find it really interesting for Homelander to have his own antagonist in this show with Stormfront. I think that's kind of cool.
Technically, 2 antagonists now. Because he's fighting a war from without and within.
Yeah, but Homelander being Homelander, he still finds a way to just be the biggest prick in the world, like what he did to Maeve on live TV.
LOL, you think you're in the closet.
That was just such a sleazy douchebag thing to do.
I mean, at least less of a douchebag afterwards. He doesn't, like, flip out on Maeve or anything.
No, but he's just saving that information, and now he knows her girlfriend, and now he knows they're involved, and everything she was worried about could very easily come to pass if he gets mad.
Yep, he's holding it over. So the thing I'm keeping my eye on, and I really want to know more about, is Black Noir's intentions, because he's he's sad with that tech there and over the shoulder wanting to find Butcher. And we're getting Black Noir information in bits and pieces, like in the last episode, finding out about Compound V, and he was crying. Like, he wants to find Butcher, but I feel like it's not going to be for the reasons we think.
Agreed. I think he's got something he wants to get to him. And Butcher and his wife, I don't think any of us thought that she was leaving with him, do we?
No,
God, no.
This was definitely the everybody gets sex episode.
Yes, it was. Yeah, even Huey got laid.
But probably the last time for a while.
I thought Butcher's ex was gonna flat out betray him.
I did too in the beginning, and then she started to look very smooshy. So then I was like, okay, maybe not. But there was no way. Like, there was no way he was going to want the son, right? And if he wasn't going to want the son, there was no way she was going to want to be with him.
So I was wondering what was going on with all these fucking dating profile type videos throughout the show, and we get to the end and we find out that apparently the cult is trying to get Deep a wife.
yes, not the wife he wanted.
No, he wanted the nympho.
Yeah. So yeah, they actually was a thing recently about those skeletons, and they think that they were brothers. So the whole thing that she was talking about, the skeletons that they thought were lovers for a very, very long time.
Oh right, yes.
Yeah, which made me giggle. It was like seriously, like in the last 2 weeks, it was all over the place.
So what else happened? A Train flat out gets kicked out of the 7. I actually didn't think that was going to happen.
Medical leave, though.
That's true. I mean, like, they still have Deep on the back, on the poster for the 7. I liked how jealous he got when he saw Shockwave going onto the elevator, and Shockwave was like, hey, what's up?
Do you think they are going to kick him out though now? Because they were talking about the fact that, the 7's very white.
Yeah, that does change now. I don't know. I got a bit of a laugh when they were throwing A Train out and saying, "Oh, you're gonna hit the talk show circuits. You're gonna get a show on VOT Plus," and I'm like, "Oh, suck on that, Disney."
Going back to Yost's point about most of the superheroes being white, I like maybe that is like if Stormfront's been around as long as she has been, and she is manipulating things from like behind the scenes. Maybe the fact that most of the superheroes we see are white is totally by design. It's not an accident.
I think it's totally by design.
Well, the interesting thing is, if you go with that theory and the fact that this could be what she has done, that it would make sense that riskier formulations she would have tested on the poor, right?
Yeah.
And then once they had it perfected, then they start to pick who they want. So, but it still doesn't, like, have they been testing it on people for 70 years?
What does it sound like?
Yeah, the episode before this one, when the VOT president was talking to Homelander and putting him in his place, he was saying that while Oppenheimer was fooling around with atoms, VOT actually had working applications for Compound V, and then they mentioned Soldier Boy, who was a Compound V World War II superhero, and if you read the comics, is part of the group out west, which in the comics Stormfront brings over to try and hunt the boys down. So we'll see.
Soldier Boy is going to be played by none other than Jensen Ackles in season 3.
Yes, should be interesting.
Season 3 or 2?
I heard 3.
I heard 3
It
as
is
well.
3. And that was the segue I was trying to make last week that nobody picked up on, because we were talking about Supernatural and then the boys being able to do other things after it's over.
We did segue though.
Yeah, but not to the boys. Anyways, that segueing last week did not succeed.
Crash, like, I'm trying to segue.
But we did. But yeah, no, we ended up talking about Walker. So yeah, sorry, that's true. But they couldn't film this season because they were on so much hold for Supernatural ending, right? Like they wouldn't have been able to do.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, okay. Needless to say, my point, she probably has been around for that long.
I wonder how many there are, like, that we'll see that are still alive.
Well, it depends if Compound V, if a side effect actually is life extension or not. Maybe it's like side power in some, or is it something that it does to everybody?
My guess is the extended life might have been an early thing, because I have a feeling we're going to see a young and powerful soldier boy in modern times, but that maybe they refined it so that they're not immortal anymore. But there's probably a group of original soups running around that are extremely long lived.
Well, I mean, maybe that's their thing. They wanted to make sure they didn't live forever.
True. But Soldier Boy, if they follow the comics, is definitely not going to be like this strong, virile soldier. He's pretty much a cowering dick from what I've read.
Hey, you don't cast Jensen Ackles to not be a young, handsome, strong guy. Come on.
Yeah, but
Especially, like,
if they
the
actually
goofy
follow the
person.
comics with Soldier Boy, watching him play that role is going to be fucking hilarious.
I have a feeling there are going to be a lot of flashbacks too. Mother's Milk, whose OCD on display was fucking hilarious, went on the road trip with Huey and Starlight. Very interesting, quick moment as they're driving past. There's a barn and Homelander's painted on it, but his cape is the Confederate flag. And I feel like that was yet another not so subtle fuck you to the alt-right in this show.
Yep, I agree. I noticed that as well. And I predict that maybe we'll see a flashback with that same barn, and it'll be in Legend or whatever the heck her old superhero name was, his colors, and it'll all
Liberty.
make sense. Thank you. Yes, Liberty.
Yep, I can buy that Liberty and Stormfront are the same person, just based on what a piece of shit she was to to the guy she's wailing on in the car.
And they showed his messed up face. Like, that was bad.
Oh man, like I said, the boys they love their fucking over the top, gross out moments.
I cried for the whale.
I know, right? The whale was the worst so far.
So
Yeah,
far.
just about to say so far. 'Cause,
We're only 4 in
knowing
here.
this show- knowing this show, it's just gonna get worse.
I really want to see, and I think we're probably eventually going to get it. I want to see Liberty, or I want to see Stormfront and Homelander have a full-on fight.
Well, in the preview, Homelander, she invites Homelander to quote laser my tits unquote. So they're gonna be doing something.
I wasn't actually, unless I missed it, which is entirely possible. I didn't know Stormfront could fly. She's pretty up there on the power range.
Surprising smorgasbord of abilities, like super strength, flight, electricity. Like, it's not like X-Men where everybody gets one power. It's like there are a bunch of common powers, and then some powers are slightly more unique.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested, I'm just looking at a couple things. Somebody suggested that she could have been frozen. Like cryo sleep.
Oh, maybe Vought brought her out to counter Homelander, seeing the path he was on. Maybe Esposito's character is like, all right, Homelander's going to be a problem. Monthar.
Yeah, kind of a Winter Soldier sort of thing, but
Yeah, so maybe she's not the grand manipulator, but the ace up the sleeve.
yeah, which is interesting.
That would be just as interesting, yeah. Be like, all right, we're going to give you a new identity, and then you can go back out and be a racist, terrible person and kill a lot of innocent people. She's like, all right, I'm in.
Well, she could have actually been to the point that they couldn't keep clearing her name. Like they had, I mean, who knows how many other families they had to buy off, essentially, right? So if she was doing that a lot, then they also could have said, all right, we need to do this until this all blows over.
So if they did indeed freeze her, that could completely take out the idea that Compound V extends life.
Yes. Interestingly enough. Or a bunch of them got frozen. It's hard to say.
I'd buy that. Okay, that's it for the crew of the Blackjack tonight. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.